Hello, my little friends. Welcome to the Littlestory channel. I'm Bella. Have fun and learn with today's story. Remember, every story has something special to teach you. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you won't miss the new stories. Shall we begin? It was a quiet afternoon in the forest when Amelia, the hardest working little ant in the colony, started her day as she always did, carrying leaves to the anthill. Ever since she was young, Amelia had been known for her determination and dedication. She knew that every leaf she carried was essential to keeping the colony fed and safe. However, that day, something different happened. While Amelia was carrying a leaf 3 times her size, the sky suddenly began to darken. Heavy clouds covered the sun, and the gentle breeze transformed into a fierce storm. The other ants ran back to the anthill, but Amelia, determined, decided to keep going. Just one more leaf, she thought. I can do it. But what she didn't know was that a nearby tree was about to fall. The wind howled, leaves flew through the air, and suddenly, crack! A massive branch fell right next to Amelia, shaking the ground. The little ant was thrown far by the impact, and everything around her became blurry. She could barely move, her legs trembled, and her vision started to fade. Is this the end of Amelia? The little ant wondered in her last moments of consciousness. High above, a butterfly fluttering over the forest saw everything. She knew that if she didn't act quickly, Amelia wouldn't survive. But being a delicate butterfly, what could she possibly do? Desperate, the butterfly flew in circles, trying to think of a solution. Will she be able to save Amelia in time? And how will the other ants react when they realize she hasn't returned to the anthill? Meanwhile, back at the anthill, the other ants began to notice Amelia's absence. Murmurs spread among them. Amelia hasn't returned? Where is she? Could something have happened? The colony leader, the wise ant, sensed that something was wrong. He knew that Amelia was never late. Without wasting time, he summoned the fastest and bravest ants for a search party. We must find Amelia before it's too late, he said urgently. But where could she be? The forest was vast and dangerous, especially with the storm brewing. Would the ants find her before the worst happened? And the butterfly, with her vantage point, would she find a way to save little Amelia? Time passed, and it seemed like the clock was ticking against Amelia. What will happen next? Will our little heroine have the strength to survive? Or does a tragic fate await her? The story isn't over yet. What's coming next? Only the next part can reveal that. The storm grew more violent by the minute. Trees bent in the wind, leaves swirled through the air, and the sound of thunder made the whole forest feel alive. Amelia, trapped under the heavy branch, could barely open her eyes. Her breathing was weak, and her tiny movements weren't enough to free her. She felt her energy slipping away, but something deep inside, an invisible force, told her not to give up. High above, the butterfly, still restless, continued her search for help. She knew she couldn't lift the branch on her own. Then, from afar, she spotted a strong, experienced beetle known for his strength. He was Zoltan, an old friend of the forest, respected by all insects for his wisdom and power. The butterfly flew swiftly towards him, her wings trembling in the wind, as she cried out, "Zoltan, please! Amelia is in danger, we need your help." The beetle, with his sharp eyes and serious expression, listened intently. Amelia, the little ant? The tireless worker? What happened? The butterfly, without wasting time, explained everything. With a determined gleam in his eyes, Zoltan set off immediately. "I'll do what I can. But with this storm, it'll be a race against time." Meanwhile, at the anthill, the wise ant had already organized a search team. Fast and agile ants, with keen senses, set out in all directions, hoping to find some trace of Amelia. The wind and rain made the search difficult, and every second felt crucial. Despite their small size, the ants had a strong sense of unity and knew they couldn't leave one of their own behind. But, would they get there in time? Zoltan and the butterfly were getting closer. The sound of the storm drowned out their steps, but the butterfly knew exactly where Amelia was. When they finally reached the spot, Zoltan stopped, seeing the gigantic branch on top of the fragile little ant. "Is she alive?" he asked, looking worriedly at the butterfly, who gave a desperate nod. Zoltan, using all his strength, began pushing the branch. His muscles trembled, and the weight seemed unbearable. Will he be able to do it? The butterfly's heart raced, and time seemed to stand still for a moment. Rain poured down Zoltan's body, his legs dug into the muddy ground, but he didn't give up. Amelia still hadn't moved, and the situation looked increasingly dire. In the midst of the struggle, one of the search party ants spotted the scene from afar. "There! I see something! Quick, follow me!" The ants rushed, their tiny legs darting through the mud and fallen branches. They arrived just as Zoltan, with one final monumental effort, managed to move the branch. Amelia's body was free, but now what? Was she all right? The ants ran to her. Their hearts pounded, and the tension was palpable. The butterfly gently landed on Amelia's body, trying to feel any sign of life. Will she wake up? Did we arrive too late? The silence between them was deafening, interrupted only by distant thunder. Amelia, so strong and courageous, now lay still. Zoltan, breathing heavily, watched everything in silence, waiting for the little ant to show some sign of recovery. The ants gathered around her, holding each other's legs, hoping that their companion would have the strength to fight one more time. Suddenly, a small movement. Amelia's antenna twitched slightly, almost imperceptibly, but enough for everyone around to hold their breath. Is this a sign that she'll recover? Hope was rekindled, but no one knew for sure what would come next. Would Amelia have the strength to stand? Or had the weight of the branch and the storm caused irreparable harm? Amelia's story isn't over yet. What will happen next? Amelia's tiny legs trembled slightly, and her antennae, moving slowly, indicated that she was, somehow, still fighting. The butterfly, relieved to see this faint sign of life, whispered softly, "She's alive, but will she have the strength to recover?" The ants around her watched with anxious eyes. The wise ant, who had finally arrived at the scene, observed carefully. He knew that, in this moment, it was crucial to stay calm, but the weight of anxiety hung in the air. "Amelia, you must hold on," he thought, as her companions formed a circle around their injured friend, as if trying to share their strength with her. Zoltan, still panting, approached Amelia. He had done everything he could to remove the branch, but he knew the true battle was just beginning. "She needs urgent care," the beetle said gravely. "What should we do now? How can we save her?" The wise ant, with all his wisdom, knew there was only one solution to this situation. Deep within the forest, far away, lived an old ladybug named Madame Ruby. It was said that her healing abilities were legendary, and that she had knowledge that could help even the weakest recover from nearly fatal injuries. But the path to Madame Ruby was long and dangerous, especially with the storm still raging. Would there be enough time? "We need to find Madame Ruby," the wise ant said, breaking the silence. "She's the only one who can help Amelia now." But who would dare to take on this journey in the midst of the storm? The ants looked at each other, feeling the weight of the decision. Time was running against them, and the risk was immense. But before anyone could volunteer, a small, weak voice emerged. It was Amelia. With a strength no one expected, she whispered, "I will survive." What did she mean by that? Did Amelia believe she could make it on her own? Or was she preparing for something greater, even in her critical state? The wise ant gently held Amelia's little paw. "You're strong, little one," he said tenderly. "But we can't take any chances. You need Madame Ruby." He looked at the others and, with resolve, said, "I will go." The group was shocked. The wise ant was the leader, the oldest and most experienced, but also the most precious to the colony. "But, Master, what if something happens to you?" "The colony needs you," cried a worried ant. The wise ant just smiled, his tired eyes filled with determination. "The colony will survive. But now, Amelia needs me. Every life matters." And so, under the heavy rain, the wise ants set off in search of Madame Ruby, accompanied by Zoltan, who had volunteered to help him. The butterfly, still concerned, stayed by Amelia's side, trying to shield her from the cold with her wings. Meanwhile, the storm showed no signs of easing. The wind howled even louder, the trees continued to sway furiously, and darkness seemed to envelop the forest. Would the wise ant and Zoltan be able to find Madame Ruby in time? And Amelia, would she be able to hold on until they returned? The answers to these questions remain hidden in the depths of the forest. The fate of Amelia and all those around her depends on forces no one can predict. What does the future hold for our little heroine? Did you enjoy today's episode? If so, please give the video a like and leave a comment below. Tell me what you learned. Share it with your friends so they can join our adventure too. Also, check out this story here, it's amazing. Trust me,